Guys, welcome back to Clockwork and Noodles. Hello and happy 2023. This is the first video going live for the year. It is the first episode of Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. That has taken 4 attempts to say. I don't look forward to the next 11 episodes having to say it, but I might end up nicknaming it Sugar Apple or something just because it's a little bit easier for me. But hello and welcome back. If you are new to the channel, I am Clockwork and Noodles. I am Becca. I break down weekly anime on a seasonal basis. So this is now the winter season, the first season of the anime period. Can't wait to get going. And if you are not subscribed, make sure you are. Throughout this season, you will have a midway review and an end of season review. I'll break down 4 animes this season. I hope you guys have had a great festive period and the new year is treating you well. I think it's time to get going with Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. So the initial open for this one is the typical info dump, but it is done in quite a nice little way of a mum talking to a child and telling her pretty much the history of the world. I don't remember having these conversations with my own parents. There must be times when you're a kid and you want to know why things work or why things are the way they are. I can accept this one as an info dump. It's an info dump nonetheless. We are learning the world through enjoying the crafting of sweets. Sugar, we are told in this world, makes humans happy, but it also extends fairies' lives. Probably going to be very important a little bit later on, just to bear in mind on that one. Even in this world where you see some of those sugar sculptures, or I think it's cakes, insanity. If you want to go look at some of those, you can end up wasting an entire night of your life looking at sugar sculptures. They're insane. But the darker aspect of the entire plot is going to revolve around the darker side of history. And once again, humans are at their worst, enslaving fairies. So this is a world where fairies exist. We've worked out that the way to keep them tame is by cutting off one of their wings. And it is pretty gruesome. And we do get quite a few gruesome, more brutal sequences this episode to hammer in the fact that there is a horrible dark cloud in this world. Fairies are nothing more than human slaves. The humans got wind that the fairies had a weak spot. Purpose of this first section is just your lore. It also is character motivation. You're seeing the motivation for Anne, how her mother is telling her, you need to be kind, you need to be thankful. As a sweet maker, you need to be thankful to the fairies for allowing you to do what it is that you do, because that's initially where the sugar was discovered. And Anne as a character later in our story, and why that she is the way that she is, and also how important it is to her that she gets to her final destination and takes the exam to become a master sweet maker. That will also blend in a bit later on as I talk about Anne. There's a lot of grey areas in this, obviously expected with an anime dealing with slavery. It is very similar to Ancient Magus Bride. If you haven't seen that anime, go and check it out because it's absolutely amazing, and I will totally be breaking that down on the channel. The second season airing at some point this year. It does give me some Disney vibes, especially Up on the Hill, and it has quite a nice artwork to it. It doesn't look watercolor, doesn't have the modern anime style animation going on, but it is still very nice. The first rejection of the anime year is going to Jonas. It's a funny interaction between the two. Jonas is also apparently from a family who is very renowned in the world of sweets. He tells her that he's in love with her. She states that it's more just sympathy because by this point her mother has died and he's taken sympathy on her. Anna is a very beautiful character, so I can imagine it is also part infatuation too. I can believe that. Time skip has happened and she's independent. She's chasing off her dreams. Quite quickly we are back into the brutality of the world that we're in as we get to go into a bit of fairy torture, which is horrific. This is how things are because you can see in the crowd people are not happy or comfortable, but they're also not doing it. The old man who tells her what's going on but says, well, that's just the way that they are, and quite quickly makes a reputation for herself. Does state that she understands that she is simply part of the problem. When she does save the fairy and he flies away quite quick, she doesn't expect to thank you. She's pretty happy with it because she knows that she's part of the problem. Why would you thank somebody who is harming you? Even if they've suddenly done something nice, you wouldn't be trustworthy of that person. It is interesting to see that the crowd only really steps in once he goes to try hitting Anne because she's a human. We see the priorities of the crowd, and that thus leads us to perhaps the hell pit of the world of the fairy market, where we have fairies chained up, fairies being sold as pets or slaves, whatever you would prefer. They come in all sizes and shapes because the warrior fairy is pretty much a human size. So don't blame him for being quite the smart mouth because, well, it's all he can really do. He's enslaved. He knows that somebody's going to crumple his wing at any moment, and we are told that that essentially is somebody crumpling your heart. That reminds me a little bit of the One Piece Trafalgar Law. He has the ability to put someone's heart in a box and squeeze it, and it literally cripples them. I love Trafalgar Law. the humans will go to such lengths to capture them. And with this guy, they've actually lost quite a few people trying to get him. It's all about control, and we see how the humans have found a way of controlling them. It makes me very sad, touching on topics that sadly are real. They're very real topics. Irritating too, because the guy selling Chal isn't concerned that he's just sold a 15-year-old. She's a kid who's just bought a warrior fairy who has apparently killed 3 people, and he doesn't seem concerned even for the human side of things. These sellers don't really have much in the way of morals at all. Even for humans, they don't care, because he just wants to make that quick sell. He probably also wants to get rid of him because he's been sitting around for quite some time as well. This anime is going to be looking at those very grey questions, like, could you ever befriend or forgive somebody who has caused you great harm, torture, and captured you? I think it's going to take a lot to answer. Obviously, me coming from a side of privilege who has never been enslaved, I can't answer this one truly, but it is going to be interesting as anime fans to get a perspective on it. Hopefully the anime covers the ground quite nicely, explores all the topics. I think it is doing it quite nicely because it doesn't push the romantic barrier immediately off the bat. You obviously know it's going to end up happening. It doesn't look like it's going to come easy because of the way that the world is. Her promising, well, once I get to my final destination, I promise I'll befriend you and you will be released. Chal really isn't that interested by this because he knows that if he gets free again, they're just going to come back. He says he's been serving in slavery for 70 years. It doesn't really solve the issue if one person sets free a fairy when the entire race is probably just going to catch him again. I do think he is a very pretty design and he is pushing for that award. I have an award every single end of season, which is Best Boy. I think I'm going to give it to Masa, my baby, and I love Masa from Sarune. And let's just say my heart is no longer safe, and it's going to be a very interesting toss-up because this guy is beautiful. Absolutely stunning design. I love the effects on the wings. I love the eyes because you can see there's magic in them. Those eyes are fierce, but there's magic in them. He has every right to be harsh. His life is pretty much in the hands of whoever has his heart in their hand. It looked like she was getting riled up. Every single fibre in my body was literally shouting, don't hit him. Do not hit him because you're literally continuing the problem. He right now is a victim, so I am very glad that she did not strike him and she's able to just go, okay, I'm blowing it off. I'm going to keep going. You can't expect him to change because suddenly I'm a good person. I'm going to free you. I'm a nice human. To him at the moment, every single human is a bad human. And I think there's a bit later on as well, which I think I deduced was him trying to prove to her that she's no different from everybody else. It's definitely going to be the anime of the season that talks about understanding where boundaries lie, how we view people, and it just because they're beautiful doesn't give you a right to go around touching people. I like this because I come from the cosplay world. It's because a girl is wearing a costume doesn't mean you have the right to go up and touch them. Cosplay is not consent. Him getting quite offended when she touches his other wing, you've literally already got my heart in your hands that you can control me with. You don't have the right to touch anywhere you want. It's not happening. I like the way that it's handled. It does feel very awkward at times in the anime, but it's an anime which I am expecting to grow. I can definitely see a lot of potential in the plot. The dynamic between them also really works because she is very kind and but very determined. She realizes that the thing that she really wants is to get to her destination. She needs to achieve this because that's what she promised her mum. Even if I hate it, even if I don't want to be playing the role of the master, it might be necessary for now for me just to be a bit more harsh, step away and try and put up a bit more of a wall instead of being naive. A lot of her this episode is being very naive. I'm just going to save you. You're going to see me as a viewer. I'm going to be a good person and befriend you. It doesn't work like that. That is something that she's going to learn. Obviously, she has grown up with her mother telling her how things are. She needs to learn offhand how things are working and the fact that you can't just choose that somebody will be your friend. Both sides of the party decide that they need to be friends or there's a reason why they want to be friends. I think it's this moment here where he starts to tease her a little bit and we do get a lot of the whole up against the wall posing, which I know is going to cause fangirls to go crazy. Actually, I feel like it's not a good thing. I think it's because he's trying to show her you are just like all the other humans. Right now, a master will give commands, and right now that's what you're doing. You are no different from the rest of the humans that you apparently feel like you are. The anime not pushing romance quickly is a good thing, and I respect that choice. I don't want them to suddenly put the two together. So much stuff that these two need to understand. I don't want them just slammed together. He can smell the smell of the sugar on her because she's a sweet maker. We were told initially in that first sequence, remember the purpose of the first scene, which actually comes back later on, sugar extends their lives. So it's a possibility that at some point, if they do get together, she's going to be happy and he's going to have a nice long life. But we don't know enough about fairies about how long they live anyway. The end title scene itself is absolutely gorgeous. It reminds me of paper crafting, and we've got the silhouette which looks gorgeous. Shad is a really handsome character. He's not a commodity. The first episode is basically showing us the world that we're in. Fairies are the victim in this story. You can't also just suddenly go, because I'm a good person, that person has to like me. I can't wait to see how this one pans out. I've seen it's got quite the low score already. The artwork is gorgeous. I think it sounds nice. I think the fight scene's a little bit meh, but I don't think it's an anime that's pushing itself on the fights. It's pushing itself on quite a sensitive topic. The ED, not my type of song, but it does work for what we're trying to go through. Initially focusing on Anne being all alone, bearing in mind that she is 15, her mum is dead, and she's facing the world alone. That's when we start to get hints that the fairy that she saved is coming back, because in the ED, he's there. Shad is basically sitting where her mum was sitting in that transition. There's some very nice transitions in this ED. Perhaps hints that he has a romantic role a bit later on, because it does look like they're going for a kiss at one point. Obviously at the end he's holding her hand. Is there, but we need to understand how the relationship gets from one point to another point, and I don't just want it to be Stockholm Syndrome. Hope the anime doesn't rely on good old Stockholm Syndrome. I love the transition in time with the music, because the two start to dance. It happens just in time with the bar change. Really, really nice. The pacing is great. Apples are central in this ED, because that's certainly where sugar comes from in this world. All of the characters I think that we see in the lineup are sweet makers. I think on the right-hand side, you see Jonas along with his lineage. I think all these characters are in his lineage. I do expect at some point we're probably going to get to the town, and maybe he's going to stick with her, and perhaps she's going to have the struggles of making sugar, but that could also be a season 2 type thing. Right now I'm just hoping the anime doesn't push this first chunk, otherwise it's going to seem weird that he suddenly stays in servitude to her while she's studying. That doesn't make sense. I am hoping that at least the first season is focusing on these two getting across the most dangerous stretch of highway, and the next bit's called like Murder Highway or something. I'm hoping that it just focuses on this, but I do see there being potential for more. The ending ends up with Anne and her mum passing down her apple to her, which I believe the apples are just a sign that this talent, this old skill that has come from the fairies being passed down to you, passing on responsibility. At the end, we see Chow coming in to hold her hands. If you were wondering who is voicing him, it's actually Koshin from Raven of the Inner Palace, a crowned Raven second last season. It's the same guy in there, so if you are wondering if you recognise the voice, you definitely do. He doesn't seem to have had too many roles, but I hope that he gets to play more and more characters, because he's definitely got a talent for this kind of role. I think it was a great episode. I thought it was a very good episode to get us into the world that we're in. I can see it being one of those animes that are bittersweet, which is probably perfect analogy for this one. You want them to be together, but you have to understand that there's a lot that needs to be overcome before that they can. So much in the world that is wrong that we need to be somehow addressing it, but obviously one person can't change the path of the entire world on their own. There's a lot going on in this anime that I think has some great premises. I can't wait to delve into it. If you are also a fan of I'm the Villainess, so I'm Taming the Final Boss, the artist of that anime drew both Anne with those guys, and it's actually quite a nice little crossover artwork. I think they swap outfit. There's a picture of those two together, and then there's a picture of those two. It was very sweet, and I thought it was a nice way of passing the baton on, as that aired last season. This is this season's. But I do hope you guys are having a great new year. I hope that my first breakdown isn't too shabby. It's been a week. Writing the script was really weird, but we're back. When it comes to new animes, it's very difficult because I don't really know what to say just yet, because I haven't got the best feel. We've definitely got the basics of this anime already given to us. It's going to be interesting to see where we go. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope to see you for another breakdown in hopefully a few days. 4 breakdowns a week. I cannot wait to see you hopefully at some more of those. Have a good day, guys. I will see you soon. Bye bye.